this horse stays forever.
As you said, it's an absolute minefield, isn't it?
I do think they have this horse primed for this race.
I'd be quite surprised if he doesn't go close, if I'm being honest.
Will the Tiger roar again? Whoa! 33-1! Hello and welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview, and we're actually previewing 4 days action. We've got Good Friday all-weather action at Lingfield. We've got Saturday where we're going to be previewing the Queen's Cup from Musselburgh. We've then got some jumps action on Sunday and Monday from Fairyhouse, including the Irish Grand National. And on to the Grand National, we will be previewing that next week. We've got a really fantastic preview coming to you guys. We're going to be previewing the Aintree Festival, along with a small preview at the end of the Masters, because I know a lot of people like to get stuck into the Masters. And Jack and I are going to bring on an expert called George Cody, who's a guy on social media who does a lot of golf work, so he's going to go through his selections for the Masters. But we'll get things in with the racing this weekend. Start off with the all-weather finals day. Now, we won't go into each race individually. Jack and I have got just a few selections from the day, and we'll try and keep it as brief as possible. And I'm going to kick things off with the all-weather marathon championships, and Rainbow Dream is the favourite here, 5-2 for the Alan King team. This horse loves the all-weather, and I think Martin Hardy's going to get a right kick out of this horse. Ranch Hands in here, 7-2 for Andrew Balding, ridden by James Daw. And another horse that might pay a lot of interest is Australis, who was second in the Northumberland Plate and does stay forever. Now, the one that I landed on was Ranch Hand here, very keen at Chelmsford last time out, but he managed to hold off Rock Eagle. Now, Rock Eagle's run some decent races since, and it did actually look like that day Rock Eagle might have gone past, but Ranch Hand was game as anything that day and was never losing that race. So I just think this horse has bundles of stamina, and I think even if joined, he just battles, and I love a horse like this. So in the all-weather marathon championships, I'm going to stick with Ranch Hand. Now, everyone knows in terms of the race that I'm really looking forward to it is the all-weather mile. Now, there was a bit of bad news today, which was the draws were coming out, and my selection, Silver Courts, who I had backed early in the week at 12s, was drawn 10. He's right out in the car park under Holly Daw, the French horse trained by Graffard. Now, it's not the only French horse in here. Cognac is in here, a massive outsider in the field. Now, this horse was actually trained originally by Archie Watson in the UK. And last time it actually ran in the UK, won a race. I think it was a Class 4 handicap, but it was 0 from 4 in France. I don't think it's got a major chance, but French Raiders are always very interesting coming to this meeting. So I mentioned 2 seasons ago, Funny Kid winning, and City Light also winning the sprint. Last year, you had Pizzicato winning, who won the 3-year-old championships. Now, in my opinion, with meetings like this, I mean, you can understand with Group 1s and stuff why French horses and international horses come over, but meetings like this, French horses and international horses won't come over for no reason. I do think they had this horse primed for this race. He's won 2 races at Chantilly and Deauville in preparation for this, last time ridden by Christophe Soumillon. I think he stays the mile really well. Last time he hit it really hard. So I think he's got a really great chance, even though drawn wide. I'm going to stick by him. And I think Holly Daw is going to give this horse a right old kick. I think she's got some nice rides, actually, because she's riding for an Irish trainer, I think, in the Sprint Jack. I think that's a great ride for her as well. And she could have a really good ride aboard that horse. Now, Silver Courts would be my selection, and I'd give him a chance for the French Raiders. And my final selection will come in the Easter Classic. Now, it looks like a 2-horse race here between Bangkok and Forest of Dean. Now, Bangkok won the Winter Derby in really, really nice style under Ryan Moore, who gave the horse a peach of a ride to come late. Now, Forest of Dean does look like a really decent rival, but was stuck behind this horse last time, finishing 3rd. And the second in that race was actually Felix, who finished 3rd in the Dubai Turf last weekend. So the form of that race isn't actually that bad, and Bangkok could be quite a decent runner. His last run was 8th in the Saudi Cup. But back on the all-weather, I think Balding has already said that the horse needed that run. I think it's going to be well primed for this race. And I do think, even though it's a short price, around sort of 5-4, I think this horse will be really tough to beat. Now, Jack, I know that you've looked through the card and you've actually got one in the mile, because I know you're probably looking to take me on with my French Raider, but you've probably looked at other races. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great day, isn't it? The All Weather Championships Day. I mean, unfortunately, we won't be able to be there, but hopefully next year we'll be able to see it in all of its might. I've got three for the day. They're all at quite friendly prices, I'd say. The first in the fillies and mares at 235. I think Indie Angel is the one to beat. She's priced about right at evens, but especially as she's out of stall one, I think that the pace that Fizzy Feet's going to set will play into her hands, and she'll be able to sweep past them all, but she hasn't been seen since October, and at an evens favourite, I'm willing to take her on just at the prices really, and I'm going to oppose her with Richard Hannon's Arathi, who's 8-1. Now, since the turn of the year, she's been in really good form. One going away at Kempton by 5 lengths, and then Wolverhampton under a hands and heels ride by Sean Levy. Now, her first attempt at a mile last time out in Newcastle, she wasn't disgraced finishing third. She was half a length in third, but she was at the mercy of a really slow pace. It was only a 5-runner race, and now if she sits just in behind Fizzy Feet, I think she may be able to kick off the bench. She hasn't actually been to Lingfield before, so I'll be intrigued to see how she gets on. She is drawn widest of all, but it's only a 6-runner race, so I don't think that should be too much of a problem. And if Indie Angel does fail to fire on her first race of the year, hopefully she'll be able to pick up the pieces. Now, the second one is in the sprint at 310. Now, Harry's Bar, as you said, a very intriguing candidate for Ado McGuinness. Holly Doyle takes the ride. Of course, he's beaten Speaking Colours, group winners left, right, and centre. But he's been drawn in 12, and that is an absolute killer. I was umming and ahhing between him and another, but now he's been drawn in 12. I don't really want to take him on over that 6 furlong. Take him over the 6 furlongs at Lingfield. Instead, I'm going to go for the model of consistency, which is Venturous, and who's 7-1. Now, he's been in great form this season. He's had 3 wins from 5 runs, and he's taken to 6 furlongs really nicely at Wolverhampton last time out. The only problem is he needed every yard for that win. He only got it in the last 5 yards, and that could be a little bit of a doubt around the sharp 6 furlongs at Lingfield. But he ran a really nice weight in 4th at Wolverhampton off top weight as well in his penultimate run, and yeah, I think he's a nice enough price at 7-1. He always runs his race, and hopefully he'll be able to here. Last but probably not least, I'd say my bet in the mile, Sam, I'd even go as far to say is probably my favourite of the 3, and that is Intuitive, who's 15-2 for the all-weather mile, which is at 4:45 if I'm correct. Now, he's had 2 runs at a mile. They've both been at Lingfield. He's been first and second. His win was really nice. The turn of foot he showed off the bend down the straight was really, really nice. And then in the 4-runner race where he finished second, again at the mercy of a slow pace, James Doyle's in the saddle, and he's been absolutely thriving. So I think he could be a touch overpriced at 15-2. So those 3 there are the 3 that I'll be looking at to get me through the day, hopefully.
Now, on to Saturday. We're just going to be previewing the one race on Saturday, which is quite rare. It's not the biggest action. We're waiting for all the group action to kick off with like the guineas and the lock-ins. It's all coming our way. But we are going to preview the Queen's Cup, the 3:35. Now, we've got the national preview next week. I think this is just as difficult to find the winner of. We've got Nate the Great, 6-1 favourite. Trumpet Man around 8-1. Rare Groove, 9-1. Rock Eagle, who I just mentioned, was 10-1. The Max We Can, 10s. Elysian Flames around 11s and 12-1 bar those. Now, Elysian Flame is a very interesting horse here. Was just over 5 lengths behind Bear Gills when going novice hurdling. And Bear Gills obviously ran a really decent race in the Ballymore and was well fancied that day. But the thing that I noticed looking through these entries is that Mark Johnson has 6 runners currently entered for this race. Now, Mark Johnson, it's fine. You could go on his top jockey pitch, which is Trumpet Man, which Fanny Norton's going to be on. You can sometimes follow the jockey, but doesn't always work like that. We've probably found that out enough with someone like Aidan O'Brien, where he has sort of 4 entered, and it usually goes the way of the one that Ryan Moore's not on. But the one that I did look at was King's Advice. He's a very, very game horse. He actually ran one of my favourite races at Glorious Goodwood in a handicap over mile 6, where this horse, it almost looked like you could see him sticking his neck out. He was really pushing his neck out as they came down the straight. It was great to see a real battler. He was 14th in the Ebor off 103. He's now rated 97, and he's got Breslin on board who's claiming £5. So I think he could go very well. You've got to remember this horse in 2019 won 6 races on the bounce. Now, the other one, the favoured one, Trumpet Man here for the Johnson team. Now, this horse was beaten by Winner Clock in a 2-horse race. Now, Winner Clock seems to be running in his last 2 runs have been in 2-horse races and has been winning well. Now, The thing is with Trumpet Man, I think they've been quite clever with this horse. They put him in that race, and his mark's not been changed from 97 because it's very difficult for the handicapper to get a grip on a race that's only had 2 runners. But Winner Clock's been beating horses like Brentford Hope, who was well fancied for Lincoln last week, unfortunately pulled out. But I just think his last race at Chelmsford was a good prep for this race, and potentially 97 might be a nice mark for the Johnson team. I think it's going to go Johnson's way, Jack, with one of those runners. I think King's Advice will be my final selection each way. What about yourself?
I love King's Advice. I mean, I've seen him the last 2 years at Goodwood, one from outside Goodwood and one from inside. I love him. That performance I think it was 2019, wasn't it? That was a great performance when he won 6 on the bus. I think that was his 5th or his 6th that he won. But yeah, I have been due to follow, known for following that horse off a cliff. I won't be doing it here. As you said, it's an absolute minefield, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit of a mess of a race, if I'm being honest. Nonetheless, though, of all the entries, I think Hiroshima's probably warrants a bit of interest for me off just 87. Now, since Dara Keenan's been in the saddle and they've added cheap pieces, he's been running really well. He won on good ground at Ayr quite comfortably and ran in 2 handicaps at Doncaster in October and November nicely. And if he's in the same kind of form after a break, he's only carrying 8 stone 8. And I think he's definitely due to go well. So if there was any, I'd like King's Advice to do it. But of course, Hiroshima at 12-1 would be my selection.
There we go. It is a minefield of a race. And I think, like we mentioned last week for the Lincoln, it's worth sort of being careful with your stakes of horses' first runs. Some of their first runs of the season, obviously, and a lot of horses going back to the turf. So do play safe to begin with before we start getting into the proper action later down in the season. But that's mine and Jack's selections of the Queen's Cup at Musselburgh. Right, we move on to Sunday now, and the jumps action begins from Fairyhouse, and we're going to quickly discuss the Gold Cup Exchange Novice Chase. This is over 2.5 miles now. Energamain is your favourite here, 11-8 on. Obviously missed the Arkle against Shishkin's. Going to be running here most likely. Latest exhibition is 4-1, but has multiple entries. Asterion Falange is also 4s. Andy Dufresne 7s. Jan Dill is 8s. 10-1 bar those. Now, I haven't got too much to say on Ireland on Sunday, but it's great to see Energamain. It's a shame we didn't see this horse taking on Shishkin over 2 miles in the Arkle, where Shishkin won so impressively. I don't think Energamain would have touched Shishkin that day, but 2.5 miles, this horse has run over 2.5 miles and won over this distance during the novice campaign. I do think this horse is going to be very tough to beat. I actually think most likely this is going to be a target for the Ryanair. I can't see this horse going for a champion chase. If winning this well, I think that this horse will be campaigned next season for a Ryanair. But Jack, you mentioned when we were talking about Dublin Racing Festival and a review of that this horse's time over 2 miles was well quicker than Chacun Pour Soir's that day. So I think this horse is a bit like Allaho, has speed, but also has the ability to stay. So I'm looking forward to seeing how Energamain runs on Sunday. Not a price that I'll be taking, but I do think that he'll be winning on Sunday. Jack, what's your opinions on the Gold Cup on Sunday? It's also the other Grade 1 on the card.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. We're not sure where latest exhibition goes. Even at 4-1, I wouldn't really be backing him. But yeah, I think it does look like a penalty kick for Energamain. Will I be backing him at odds on? No, I won't. As you said, he's ran over 2 mile 4 at Galway Park when winning by 18 lengths. Willie Mullins has always said there's the option to go further, and for me, as you said, this is just an audition to see whether Allaho is going to have the chance in the champion chase, whether he can go one each or whether he has to run both of them in it. So that I think it's a very, very intriguing race that day. And then moving on to the Mayor's Novices Hurdle, which is also on the same day. We have Echoes in Rain 7-2 favourite. We have Rosie's Hollow 4-1, Rhythm Divine 11-2, Santa Rossa 6-1, Lens of Antrim 7-1, Atlantic Fairy 8-1, Lady Breffney 8-1, Royal Illusion 8-1, Sky S 8-1, Galois 9-1, Hookup 10-1, and then 25-1 bar. Now, this is an intriguing race. I mean, as I've said it before, I mean, the Galois Rosie's Hollow form, I kind of think it's like a class 5 at Lingfield, the way they beat each other. And I'm still gonna think that. So I'll definitely oppose both of them. But both of those and Hookup, I think, were shown up at the Cheltenham Festival, as we saw. And I think in the hindsight of Cheltenham Festival, there's one piece of form from the Dublin Racing Festival which looks absolutely sensational now. And that's the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle, in which Heaven Help Us won. Tell Me Something Girl finished 3rd. and Mrs. Milner finished, fell at the 5th. Now, of course, they all absolutely hacked up at Cheltenham. So now in between there, in second, we have Global Equity for Joseph O'Brien, who was second, and 4th was Lady Breffney for Willie Mullins. And they're both entered here, Lady Breffney at 8-1 and Global Equity at 33-1. Now, since then, they've both met at Limerick over 2 miles 6 on bottomless ground, and Lady Breffney finished 36 lengths ahead of Global Equity. But it's clear to see that it wasn't either of their optimum trip or ground. Now, they were off level weights that day, and in February, Lady Breffney was giving Global Equity £7. They're off level weights here as well. And I do think I'm actually going to side with Global Equity. I think the trip that they're over here, over the 2 mile 4, I think is going to definitely play into her hands. And I think at 33-1, she does look a good price. She was closing on Heaven Help Us by the second. I think if you gave it another 20 yards, she's finished ahead of the Mayor's Novice Hurdle winner, Pertemps winner, and Heaven Help Us as well. So I think the drop back to 2.5 miles on ground that won't be as testing will be great. I mean, of course, we'll be looking out for Lady Breffney as well, 8-1, but 33-1 Global Equity is going to be my selection for the Mayor's Novice Hurdle.
There we go. A 33-1 selection potentially for Jack there. We'd love to see that going over the weekend. Now we'll go straight into Monday, which is the Irish Grand National, and Tiger Roll is the 6-1 favourite. Sempo 7-1. Latest Exhibition 7-1 potentially going here. Augusta Gold 9-1. Home by the Lead 10s. Run Wild Fred is also 10s. The Big Dog 11s and 12-1 bar those. Now, will the Tiger roar again? We could see him here. We don't know. The O'Learys are keeping us on our feet where this horse goes. You just never know whether he's going to the bowl at Aintree, whether he's going for the Irish Grand National, whether he could even go to the cross-country chase at Punchestown during the festival. He could go absolutely anywhere. But, I mean, as much as I'd love to see him at Aintree, where, you know, he's got such a love there because of his Grand National wins, I do think that he's most likely going to end up in this Irish National. Now, the thing that will suit, the horse that will suit is Latest Exhibition, because Tiger Roll will then be running off top weight in here. Now, Latest Exhibition really does deserve his chance, Jack. Finish up the backside of Monkfish plenty of times, and we know how well regarded Monkfish is, rated 170, and Latest Exhibition is 153. Now, I do think this horse does stay forever. I think he's going to be a real future staying chaser. And I just think that this horse really does deserve his chance. Now, 153, I think he is thrown in here. I know he's going to be carrying a bit of weight as a novice, but I just think he's got a major chance. The other one that I did actually have in my head, a horse that does stay for forever, really. I do think he would want a bit softer ground. I don't know what the ground's currently like over there, but that's the Big Dog. Now, Jack, you've got some really interesting news with regards to this horse running on Monday.
Yeah, Jamie Codd's going to be going for his lightest weight ever in 17 years to ride the Big Dog. Now, if that's not the confidence, of course, as soon as that's come out, he's been shortened in the market. But if that's not the confidence you want, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, with regards to that horse, I mean, if Jamie Codd were to come out and say it's a God-given certainty now, you'd see the rest of Twitter absolutely lumping on this horse. But, Jack, with regards to the Irish National, have you got one at a bigger price? Or are you siding one with sort of the single-figure odds?
I'll go for one at 10-1. I think we saw with time to get up, skipping the Kim Muir for the Midlands National, that paid off, and I think it will do for One Wild Fred here as well. He's 10-1 at the moment. I think he's a little bit overpriced now. Latest Exhibition, you say, is a class act, but I'll have him to prove it to me over 3 mile 5 for me to be wrong. I mean, I'm not saying he won't stay that. I just want to see him stay that. Now, it'd be brilliant for Tiger Roll to do the business. I'd happily sit back, not select him, and see him win by 25 lengths. But 16 of the last 17 winners were carrying 10 stone 13 or less, and it's not like he's just over that. He's carrying 11 stone 9 on his back. Now, that is an absurd weight to be carrying for the Irish National. I think he's got an awful lot to do if he wants to win this. I mean, Sempo's an intriguing one as well, I've found, because he's getting so much market support. Yeah, he hasn't actually raced over 2 mile 5, and yet 16 of the last 17 winners have won over 3 miles. So I find that a little bit odd. I don't really see the angle with Sempo. I mean, of course, it's the Joseph O'Brien angle, but I don't really see that. I mean, now he's single figure odds, and I think Runwell Fred, they've had this in his mind since they pulled him out of the Kim Muir. He's carrying just 10 stone, and I'd be quite surprised if he doesn't go close, if I'm being honest.
There we go. The one question I want to ask you, Jack, 'cause I love asking an intriguing question, getting your thoughts. If Tiger Roll were to have gone for the National after that cross-country win, you could potentially say he's quite a well-handicapped horse in the race after that win. Would you think that he'd have a huge chance, or would you actually be siding with that horse as a win bet if he were to go there this year?
Oh, that is a good question. Tell you what, I probably would. I think it's the best we've ever seen him, and we've seen him have the return from Cheltenham to Aintree and just absolutely fly home with the short turnaround. And I think he'd be able to do it again. I mean, of course, you have Cloth Cap in there, who's now 4-1. I'm not sure what price he'd be if Tiger Roll was there. I'm not sure what price Tiger Roll would be. What price would you reckon Tiger Roll would be if he was in the National?
Well, I think bookmakers would take no chance after the run at Cheltenham. I think he'd be no bigger than 6-1 personally. I mean, I actually find Cloth Cap. I mean, he's a classy horse and he's a real stayer, but I find him far too short. But we're going to discuss that all next week with regards to the Grand National. But that is our preview of the meeting at Fairyhouse over Sunday and Monday. Right, we'll quickly go over our brief selections for the rest of the weekend. There probably are other races that Jack and I both want to quickly touch upon and horses we want to put up. Now, mine is probably the most unoriginal selection ever, and it comes from the 310 at Cork on Saturday. It's a 5 furlong handicap, and Forest of Dreams runs here. Now, this horse here finished around 5 lengths behind Lucky Vega in the Railway Stakes. Now, Lucky Vega was second that day behind Laws of Indices. Now, the horse who was second, Lucky Vega, is rated 116. Now, finished second in the Middle Park Stakes. And well, this Forest of Dreams, he finished 7 of 7 that day, but was only 5.5 lengths behind Lucky Vega. And I think the fact that this horse is only rated 91 and Lucky Vega 116, I think that 91 is I just think this horse is much better than this. And the main thing is, and a lot of people would have picked up on it, I keep checking it every day and it seems to just rise and rise and rise, is the Aidan O'Brien strike rate. Which is just ferocious. In the last 14 days, it's 64%. And the day of filming, he's actually had a winner at Dundalk this evening as well, which is he's just flinging in winners. So I just think that Forest of Dreams, I don't know what price this horse is going to go up at. I'm hoping that he goes up at an each way back all price. But looking at it, I think he's got a major chance. I just think that 91 is far better than this with regards to his form. So I'll be giving him a chance over 5 furlongs at Cork on Saturday. Jack, elsewhere, what have you got?
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll be able to get an each way price on anything Aidan O'Brien wise at the moment. I don't think bookies will be that nice at all. But yeah, it comes in the 2 mile handicap hurdle at Fairyhouse, which is at 4:05. Again, this is literally. I'm probably going to get a bit of abuse for this because this is against everything I believe in. Looking at the jumps at the flat season, and especially this all-weather champions weekend, but championship weekend. But nonetheless, we're going to Fairyhouse to look at a race and potentially 2 from it, and then it's from the same form that the Mayor's Handicap hurdle. Now, there's 2 that I'll be keeping an eye on. The first is Hurricane Cliff, of course, Henry de Bromhead. Now, he's been running really well in Big Runner Maidens recently, and he beat Captain Kangaroo quite nicely at Naas in February. And despite jumping right at the first, I love the way he jumps. He's so efficient over them, and he just hopped over them. And they went at quite a slow pace early on, and he was just stealing lengths out of everything else. And he's only been raised £5 for that. Not sure if he'll be declared for this because obviously he's a novice, but if he does, then that's quite interesting. And the other is Rula Bula for Woolly Mallins. Now, she was in the Mayor's Handicap hurdle that I mentioned earlier, which heaven help us won. Tell Me Something Girl and Mrs. Milner were in as well. Now, she came with a really nice run down the outside. She had to travel about 5 wide to out, but made some really eye-catching headway. That was over 2 miles, 2 furlongs. This is back at the 2 mile trip. Even though she's got 3 entries, I think this is where she should go because I think the 2 mile trip is perfect for her. She was making a really strong challenge, clattered the last, didn't stay the 2 mile, 2 furlongs, and I think I think she could be a good price, and B, I think she'll definitely have a chance. So there'll be 2 that I'll be looking at, price permitting, and obviously if they get declared or not.
Right, thanks for watching our weekend preview. Now, we're going to be back next week with 2 videos on the bounce. So we're going to have a special feature video coming to you on Tuesday, which is going to be a flat anti-post preview. Now, we're going to be joined by Dave O'Keefe from the finishing line. We're looking forward to getting Dave's thoughts on the flat season. We're going to be looking at likes of the Guineas, the Derby, the Oaks, and sort of other selections across Royal Ascot and later in the season. So we're looking forward to that. That will be with you on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, usually our previews obviously go out on a Thursday, but we're going to bring out on a Wednesday for the Grand National Festival, where we're going to be joined by Ben Hughes, who's going to give his opinion and potentially the Irish angle from the meeting, and we're looking forward to getting that with you. And one thing that we want our viewers to do, anyone sort of, even if we have jockeys, trainers watching, we want you to send us a sort of 10 to 20-second clip of who you think's going to win the national and why. Make it as exciting as possible. Get some props. Make it look as great as possible. We'll get sort of 5 or 6 clips and put them into the video when we put those up. And if you want to message myself, Jack, or just message the Next Gen Racing Twitter account, we're more than happy to respond and sort of give our email and get the video sent over to us. So if you do want to get involved, let us know. But we're looking forward to that. And like I say, we're going to have a short preview of the Masters at the end of that video as well, where we're going to be joined by George Cody. You can go check him out on Instagram, g3.golf. He is very, very good. He gives you some great golf tips if you like your golf. So looking forward to having him on. But it's going to be really fantastic, Jack. We're looking forward to next week. Plenty of flat opinions. And hopefully we're going to find the Grand National winner. But if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, and we will see you on Tuesday.